Hey everybody, it's Dan. Welcome to Weld Fever. On today's episode, we're going to continue our discussion of MIG welding troubleshooting. We're going to get into some actual problems that happen when you're welding these time around. So stick with me. Here we go. Hey, just as a reminder, we're having a special for Weld Fever Wednesdays. The special is going to run through the end of March, and the special is on the Weld Fever cap and of course the stickers. The cap is going for $14.99 right now. You have to enter the promo code Wednesday. Wednesday is the promo code. Go to weldfever.com and click on the store. You'll get this for $14.99 and we'll throw in a sticker for you also. So make sure you support the show and we appreciate it. Hey, before we begin today's episode, I want to remind everybody that we're in the middle of having a giveaway. We're giving away a Longevity Stick Weld 140 machine, and it's about to end. So if you want to enter, make sure you visit my website, www.weldfever.com/giveaway. Fill out the entry form and get it in before the end of April 15th at midnight so that you can have your chance to win too. Okay, so the first thing we're going to cover today in this continuation of our MIG welding troubleshooting is polarity, and specifically putting your machine on the wrong polarity. This is probably one of the #1 problems that plagues people when it comes to MIG welding. And the reason for that is because sometimes people will use solid wire and then switch to a hollow core or a flux core wire and go back and forth and forget to change the polarity. Now when you do that, you will have some definite problems in your weld right off the bat. And unfortunately, most people don't realize that the problem is that they didn't switch the polarity, or even that they had to do that. And when they end up with these cruddy welds, they don't know what to make of it. So take a look at the machine here. We have a plus and a minus back here, positive, negative. This machine happens to color code theirs as well. There are knobs here, which is great. So the red one being the positive and the black one being the negative. These leads that are coming into them, one of them is to the actual gun itself, the MIG gun, and the other lead goes to what we would call the ground or the work clamp. Now, in order to have DC positive, the gun has to be connected to the positive terminal, and the work clamp or ground has to be connected to the negative terminal. That would be a DC positive connection. DC positive is used for MIG welding, solid wire MIG welding. If you were to change this to flux core, then you would go the other way around, okay? DC negative is used for flux core. So in that instance, the gun would be connected to the negative terminal, and the ground or work clamp would be connected to the positive terminal. So the connection that the gun is at is what dictates whether or not you're on DC positive or DC negative. Now what I'm going to do is show you what it looks like to weld on the wrong polarity. Okay, so to demonstrate what the difference is in polarity, I'm going to first weld one straight bead on the proper polarity, which for MIG welding is DC positive. So here goes that. Okay, I shut off the machine real quick just to describe this. Now you can see it welded in well. You can see it's a little higher here than at the end, and that's because by the time we got to the end it warmed up. I am purposely not welding this as hot as I should, just because I want it to be a little bit less of a bead so that you guys can see this. Now I'm going to go ahead and change the polarity to the wrong polarity. So I'll be right back. Okay, so keep in mind I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to lay down the next weld on the improper polarity. So we're doing MIG welding, so the wrong polarity here is DC negative, and that's what I have it set on. I have not changed the settings at all. So the settings are exactly the same as I had on DC positive. So let me start up the machine and here we go. Okay, I think that's pretty easy to see that there's something wrong here. This weld did not penetrate at all. It looks like a worm just sitting next to this thing side by side. And you heard it was hissing, it was sputtering, it was just very, very problematic. So clearly if you get that going on in your weld as you're welding, then I think the first place you should look is your polarity to make sure that it's correct. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to demonstrate is a common problem, and it has to do with actual welding, and that is a lack of fusion or penetration. In this instance, what I'm going to do is I set the machine down really low to a low setting, and I'm going to travel rather quickly because usually lack of fusion and penetration issues have to do with moving too fast. So anyway, let's see if I can reproduce that and then I can talk about it afterwards. Here we go. Okay, you guys heard how that sounded. It didn't sound good. I basically have this setting for about a 22 gauge thickness of material, and you can see this is 1/4 inch material that I'm welding on. So what happened was the wire feed speed was not high enough to give us enough amperage to be able to penetrate into this weld. And so if you can see this, you see this ridge here, and I'm going to clean this off a little bit so that you guys can see a little bit better at home. It looks, there's the bead that I laid down, it looks like a little worm that's sitting right on top of the material. It's not penetrated into the material at all. It's just sitting right on top, and it's really high. And that's just basically because it wasn't hot enough. It wasn't hot enough to fuse with the metal underneath it and to actually sink into it a bit, and that's what we're after. So now on the next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the wire feed speed, which, as I've mentioned before on the show, raising the wire feed speed is what actually gives you more amperage, thus more heat. And by doing so, I'm going to be able to penetrate into this plate more. So let me go ahead and adjust that setting, and I'll be right back in just a second. Okay, so I have a new piece of metal here. You can see I've cleaned it off to shiny metal. In other words, I've taken the mill scale off of it. I wanted to do that because I'm looking for the best penetration here. I also want to remind you that I have upped my settings. I made it a little hotter. I've upped the wire speed. That way I can get more amperage into this thing because I'm trying to make it so that I have better fusion and better penetration. So let me go ahead and start up the machine and put down a quick weld bead, and hopefully it'll come out all right. on this particular one, we have the sides are well fused here and here. We've got a little bit of excess weld deposit on here. It's not crazy amount. If you look at the profile, I'm looking at the profile from the side. It's not humped up as much as it could be. I might be able to benefit from making it a little bit hotter. Why don't I go ahead and adjust it just a little bit hotter than this and see how it does. And just like that, we're finished with another episode. Thanks so much for joining me on this one. Don't forget our contest, our giveaway is underway. Visit www.weldfever.com/giveaway to enter, and make sure to catch us every Wednesday on Weld Fever Wednesday. Also catch us on Twitter and Instagram. Bye-bye.